Now it's 6 o'clock in Sweden, and it's 5 in UK, where Colin sits. And we will start the tasting. I take it in English because Colin got to hear what we say. I'm Anders Nordström. I'm the board member in SMAD, and I'm the head of the board. And I not want to say so much more, because the next tasting we will have will be 15th of October. Then James Wills come to Borlänge in Sweden with Kilchoman, and we will hope it will go all right, because it's the first time since the lockdown we'll have a tasting on place in Borlänge. And the last October we will have Kleinlich tasting, that will be on Zoom tasting. And the 20th of November we will have Mariella Romano with Arran, who also come to Sweden. We hope that will go well as well. But I won't say so much more, because I want to introduce you to Elsa Björnsdotter Stridsberg, who sits in Stockholm and works from Wet Hennessy, Ardbeg in Sweden. Over to you, Elsa.
Thank you, Anders, and thank you for that kind introduction with my full name. I really appreciate it. Hi, everyone. My name is Elsa, and I'm, you can say, the marketing manager for White Hennessy, which is part of, or Ardbeg is a part of White Hennessy portfolio. We are super thrilled to be able to offer this opportunity and to have this amazing tasting with you guys. Anders contacted me a few months back and asked if can't we do a digital tasting now that we can't really travel, and I thought it was a great opportunity to get Colin to participate and go through your amazing collection of limited editions that Ardbeg has released over the past couple of years. You're not here to listen to me, you're here to listen to Colin and run through the tasting. But I just wanted to say a massive thank you for participating today, and I will let Colin have the word as the new distillery manager since October in 2020. So have a lovely tasting, and Colin, over to you.
Hey, thank you very much, Elsa. Hello, everyone. Firstly, thanks for inviting me along. We had a good chat there before everyone else was allowed into the call, and it's genuinely brilliant to be speaking to our die-hard and dedicated fans from Sweden. It's been a crazy couple of years, or crazy 18 months, but we're all okay on Isla and things are going very well. It's been a really busy year here since I came in when Mickey retired. Mickey Heads, who many of you will know, an amazing site, a fantastic whiskey, and it's been quite a journey. So it's really nice to be sitting here on a Friday, and what a lineup. I've done quite a few tastings. I've never had to contact our lab for back samples, because some of the whiskies you've got here are getting harder and harder to get hold of now. So yeah, incredible stuff. So I don't know whether we just go for it. There's quite a lot of whiskey to cram into this time, so I think we're probably best just kicking off. Like I say, there's a lot of people on the call, but I think if there is anything, I don't know if you want to shout out or questions. I like whiskey's a very social thing. That's why I love drinking whiskey in company. So if you feel you've had enough of me or want to shout anything out, please do. Please interact. And yeah, let's kick off. So the first whiskey that I was going to talk about was Ardbeg. When it was announced Mickey was going to retire as distillery manager in, I think it was about March last year, we obviously wanted to do something special for Mickey, an absolute gentleman, a legend in the industry. He'd been here for 13 years at the helm at Ardbeg, but before that at Jura, and you'd spell it Lefroy as well as the brewer, the under manager there. So we wanted to do something a bit different. And one thing, we've got a fantastic innovation and experimental team in Dr. Bill Lumsden and Gillian McDonald, the whiskey creation team. And they had filled some Ardbeg New Make Spirit straight into American oak rye casks. And one of the great things about Ardbeg is we tend to bottle a lot of cask strength, which I'm a huge fan of myself. I like to be able to taste whiskey as it's come from the cask in terms of strength, and then play about if we want to add any water. So it's 51.8% and very different, really quite different. The Ardbeg, it was limited. I hope you all managed to get a hold of it or a bottle. It's the biggest challenge of Ardbeg is getting hold of special or committee releases or limited releases, because we made such a small volume. 10 years ago, the site only made about 500,000 litres of spirit, which is so little. Gradually we've increased. Next year will probably be about 5 times that. We're still only just above 2 million litres, which is really a drop in the ocean for where the demand sits. So I hope you did manage to get the Ardbeg. 51.8, pretty light in colour. Obviously no colour added, nothing like that with Ardbeg. It's all natural colour from the cask. It's like very fruity on the nose. I was thinking, like, we get such a great balance with Ardbeg. I think that's the great thing as we go through these whiskies. We've got a lot of really cracking whiskies here in terms of age, and really interesting that this is younger. There's no age statement. We don't often put age statement on the Ardbeg bottles because we're just working with what we think is great whiskey rather than age a lot of the time. But as we do move through a lot of these whiskies, you get so much more wood influence, losing a lot more of that sort of distillery character we see in the younger Ardbegs, right up as we go through the sort of single cask release as well. Big wood influence. But the Ardbeg, which is certainly a younger whiskey in these rye casks, you get lots and lots of that distillery character. If you nose the new make of Ardbeg, you get this wonderful balance of big, heavy, peaty, sooty, ashy, wood smoke notes, very heavy phenol malt. You also get incredible fruity notes, estery, light notes that come from our distillation, the purifier and the spirit still, which encourages lots of copper contact. You get huge like estery notes, these fruity notes. And that just seems to work really well with the rye cask. I just get like smoky banana. Don't worry about my tasting notes, but I think there's a big banana thing, maybe pear, fruits, but the smoke is there. You really get like a charcoal or wood smoke thing. And quite often with Ardbegs, they like a spice, like a sort of clovey note. But Slangeval on Skull, let's have a wee sip. It's dry, like it's quite peppery. A lot going on in the mouthfeel there. There's that sort of spiced clove, peppery. It's woody, quite woody. See if you were doing that in a blind tasting, it'd be quite hard to pick out that's Ardbeg. I think, but big influence from the rye casks. Citrus is there as well. That classic Ardbeg citrus, but rye, peppery. But I get a lot of. There's definitely like a hint of vanilla and the citrus there, the classic, that Ardbeg citrus that I tend to get with a lot of them. Good. You can try it with a wee bit of water as well. Softens it down, definitely pushing that sort of banana note, I think. Oh, massive, like I get a big, with a bit of water there, that sort of clove. It's like a wee hint of a coffee note to it. Really, it's good. Any thoughts on the Ardbeg? I know everyone's on mute because they want to listen to me, but I'd be quite interested to hear because it's been a long time since I've sat with a big group and drank whiskey, and I love interacting. I don't know if anyone wants to shout anything out. Please feel free. Any thoughts on the Ardbeg? The rye cask's quite unusual. No, okay, that's all right. A fitting bottle, if you like, and a and a good tribute to Mickey. It was always going to be something a wee bit different we did. He was the captain of the ship here for 13 years, so to the captain himself, to the pirate, the main man, to Mickey, that was a good bottling that we did. Okay, so we'll just move on. Like I say, there's a lot of whiskey to taste here, so I think we'll just work through them. We can go back. Yeah, and like anything you want to shout out, go for it. But I'm actually very, very excited. There's a lot of great stuff here. So the next one I thought we'd maybe have a look at was the Ardbeg Black, which we did as a committee release in 2020 and as the festival release as well. So we do the committee release at a cask strength, normally 50.7 was the black, and then we'll do a sort of reduced strength version as our festival release. One of the things Elsa, when she was on there, was talking about we are part of Moet Hennessy. So we were bought by LVMH, the French company, in 2004. And we obviously have access to a huge number of vineyards. We've got quite a big wine portfolio. And one thing that Bill wanted to do, Dr. Bill, was play about with some of these casks. So what we did with the black was we did a marriage of some ex-bourbon casks, not a huge amount, some ex-bourbon casks, and the rest was made up of Pinot Noir, the red wine casks from Cloudy Bay, our New Zealand vineyard. We brought casks over and filled them. And again, no age statement, but 50.7%. Absolutely superb, the black. It was a big hit last year. It was our first sort of attempt at a virtual festival. It was crazy last year, all of Ireland, the whole world, obviously. The country went into lockdown in mid-March. The Whiskey Festival, the Feast that I know a lot of you have probably been over to, is always in the diary, a huge event at the end of May. And we very, very quickly had to do something which was virtual. So lots of trying to arrange outfits for people to dress up as sheep and get them shipped to the island so we could go virtual. And yeah, Jackie Thompson, who's our visitor centre manager, who again a lot of people have met when you're over, Jackie did a great job at the helm of hosting our first virtual fish. Every distillery did. In fact, a lot of the distilleries, everyone sort of came together to try and make sure it was a success, because we're so used to thousands of people out in the courtyard that last weekend in May. And yeah, it was a crazy time getting everything ready. But this was the release we've done, and I think it's a superb whiskey. I'm a big fan of the Ardbeg Black. It was very popular. It's got it's quite similar on the nose, like that big, like sort of like the umami flavour, that big savoury flavour, like kind of like the Dark Cove bottling. I think had that real big sort of depth to it, big savoury nose. That's what the black reminds me of. It's smokes there, like almost a wee bit sooty on the nose. I always think you get such a good balance of that soot and fruit in the new make spirit. But big fruits there, like cherries and raspberries, jam, I think coming through from the Pinot Noir casks as well. Like a bit of sort of like jams, like a wee chili chocolate sort of note coming through. But I thought I could nose that all day. I think that's just absolutely amazing on the nose. So let's have a wee taste. Cheers up, Slange. It's like there is definitely a savoury. I suppose smell and taste are a personal thing. We all taste and like different tastes and smells. I tend to have a very sweet tooth, so I'm instantly drawn to the sort of sweeter notes. But there's like it's like an aniseed. It's like a smooth sort of cigar smoke. Berries there, peach, maybe a wee bit of peach and stuff. I think it's just such a good balance. I think it worked really, really well. And it's one of the great things about having great casks. We spend a huge amount of money on wood when Glenmorangie Company, who we still are part of. We are part of the Glenmorangie Company that's in turn one of the maisons of LVMH. When Glenmorangie bought the distillery in '97, we were in a really, really poor place. Shut obviously most of the 1980s. The 90s we only ran in campaigns, a couple of months through the year. And one thing that we did when the distillery was bought by Glenmorangie, again with Bill Lumsden, Dr. Bill, and really leading up the whiskey stocks and creation, was all about getting the spirit into the good wood. As you know yourself, some of that, Anders was telling me about that tasting that we ran a while ago, and it was all 1970s Ardbegs. What a lineup! Some absolutely incredible whiskies. It was great in consistency as well. So the whiskey that was sold that you could find was great. It was a lot of whiskey filled into very poor wood and poor casks. And one of the big changes when Glenmorangie bought the distillery was about consistency of using great casks and great wood. We spend an absolute fortune on casks. And yeah, great that these casks came in and worked so well with the Pinot Noir. Just going to add a wee bit of water to this. It's beautiful, cherry and jam. You get that lovely coating. It's distinctively Ardbeg, but as soon as you sip of that coating of ash, like lovely mouthfeel, you get just a warm coating, that ashy coating, but big fruity notes coming through. Absolutely beautiful. So that's the black.
A question, Colin.
Yeah, go for it. Hello.
Hello. We should not ask, they said, but I do it in spite of that.
No, sorry, I'm encouraging. I was encouraging.
No, we have been told before not to do, but I've seen no one has asked in chat, and I prefer to talk instead of using chat. If you look at these two first whiskies, they are from, should I say, odd casks. They are not unique, but of these 10 we have tonight, these are, I feel, a little odd. While you have ex-rye, you have ex-Pinot Noir. The other ones are more traditional with sherry bourbon. How much are you working with these type of different odd casks?
Well, that's a great question. We tend to fill American oak, so the vast majority, I mean, we fill everything on site, so nothing gets tankered to the mainland. We fill, there's a great draw to the job here as well. We fill everything on site and we disgorge everything on site. So every cask is empty here as well at Ardbeg. And we have just commissioned a new filling store as part of our sort of growth and expansion, just to sort of future-proof us. And we probably fill somewhere around 80–85% American through the year, ex-bourbon. A lot of first fills, a lot of refills as well, and then we'll do the rest sherry. Sherry butts, and again a lot of sort of refill sherry, and then we'll do the sort of odds and ends that Whiskey Creation send us or would like us to try. So watch this space. There's always something in the pipeline. We like to try different things as we go. It's good. Someone wrote a wee comment in there as well, which is good. Ardbeg, red grapes, wood citrusy, dark chocolate. That's great. Fire in comments by all matter it means. Type them in. It's great to hear what people's thoughts are. It's a great thing just to even be sitting around drinking whiskey with other people. We'll move on to some of the next. I thought it's very difficult trying to pick an order how you would do these, but I wanted just to thought we'd maybe talk about the Tri-Van next, or the Ardbeg 19. I think you guys have batches 1 and 2. But we'll start with Tri-Van 1. Tri-Van is the Gaelic name for a little beach that sits outside Port Ellen called the Singing Sands, it gets called in English on Islay. Tri-Van, don't know if any of you have been to Tri-Van, stick in the comments if you have. It's an incredible, beautiful little beach just up past Carrick Fada, which is the lighthouse. It's a small lighthouse as you come into Port Ellen, into the bay. And Tri-Van has a really nice story about it. Like we've talked to people there, but first two we've tried to have no age statement on because we want people to, such a hang up about age in the Scotch whisky industry for so long. And Ardbeg as a young whisky works amazingly well. I mean, the wee beastie that we launched, obviously we have the 5 years on it as almost like a statement of pride, just to show how well it works. An incredible, brilliant whisky. I love wee beastie. And one thing when Trivan was launched, when we did the first Trivan in 2019, we wanted it to be almost signed off by someone at the distillery or a link with the distillery. So the first one we tried, Trivan 1, was Mickey's favourite of the samples of 19 that we did. And we put 19 years on the bottle, and it was the first time since 10-year-old we'd done that for any Ardbeg of like a core range or a range bottling, because it was always just the 10 with Hudibal, Corrie Vrecken. There's no age statement on it. As stocks, have we managed to grow the stocks, and I think on the box, on the Trivan, it will show you the age of the youngest whisky in it. Which is always a really nice thing, because you always have older as well than 19-year-olds. You have a mix, but it was just to show you that was 2000. The youngest whisky that was in Trivan number 1 was casked or filled into cask, and you know that was 3 years after Glenmorangie had bought the company, as the place had really started to get going again, and it was almost like a testament to the fan base. And you know, I'm actually. We're hosting an AGM next week, and it'll be released shortly that we're doing an Ardbeg AGM for the committee. And one thing, when the committee was founded and the members, was all about keeping Ardbeg open and alive, and it's stronger than ever. The distillery and the brand and the whisky that we make. And the 19 was almost a testament to that. People had been with us through the journey as we really got going. And Mickey had said this was his favourite of the Trivans, Trivan number 1. Bill Lumsden described it brilliantly to me. He talked about it's got a huge mouthfeel. We'll come to it in a minute, like chewing on Harris Tweed. He's always quite something, that man, with his explanations, but it's got a big mouthfeel, something quite like earthy about it. Like number 2, which we'll come to after, is certainly a little bit maybe more refined, slightly softer around the edges, but fantastic whiskies. And then Trivan 3, which we bottled in lockdown, so we actually, in the height of lockdown, emptied the casks here. There wasn't a soul in the place apart from us working. So Trivan 3 bottled in lockdown was released. I don't know if that's with you guys in Sweden. I'm not sure if Trivan 3 is there yet, but I'm sure it will make its way over. But let's have a wee nose at number 1. So Trivan number 1. It's a mix of ex-bourbon cask and ex-Oloroso sherry, mainly refills, but what they do as well is they'll play about with a bit of first fill. So there's a certain amount of first fill ex-bourbon in here as well. That is honestly, see Trivan number 1, it's what a nose on it as well. There is like a slightly, I think one thing that's really interesting with Ardbeg is the smoke on the nose. So if you eat, at times as you always see the whisky with maturation, as you're going to have longer in the wood, you tend to lose a lot of that big phenolics on the nose. But as soon as you taste it, it's there and it's instantly Ardbeg. And I think it's much more at the forefront of some of the younger whiskies, why when you get to maybe sort of 19, it's a bit in the back, but it's definitely there. It's like tempered fruit and smoke, just absolutely beautiful. Limes and melon and apple. It's almost creamy on the nose. It's absolutely sensational. So, Slanjamal, let's go and taste the Trivan number 1. There it is, that ash. Instantly, that ash coating, that's classic Ardbeg, that wood ash. But it is creamy, I think, like a really creamy mouthfeel. There's definitely that vanilla sweetness to it as well. But really good depth and mouthfeel to it as well. I'm getting a big melon note now. This is what happens. This is my sweet tooth kicking in again, you see. Maybe slightly minty. You quite often get like, especially with some Ardbegs, you almost get like a eucalyptus mint thing. Maybe just a hint of that in there as well, I think. Beautiful. He chose very well, Mickey, of them all. Try that number one's a superb whiskey. Just going to put a wee bit more in it. Lovely. It's almost like big fruits, the pears and an apple note as well. I can nose that all day. Fantastic. Okay, so that's number one. I'm just going to keep that and have a wee chat about number two, and then we'll contrast and compare, as you guys all know yourselves. It's always good just to move back to a control or to have a go back. So that was 2019. We did Tri-Van number one, batch number one. Last year, when we released Tri-Van number two, it was endorsed by Jackie. We sent her Jackie again, and she went through with our whiskey creation team. This was her favourite. And the way Bill, if he said there was just a wee bit more sort of like an earthy, chewy note to number one, he said this was like cuddling up with silk. It was slightly more refined. And just have a wee nose of number two, and then we'll contrast and compare. So it is definitely softer on the nose, but I think there's more of like, I think there's definitely a wee bit more of a first fill bourbon influence, first fill American in number two. Like a charred baked pineapple almost. There's a meaty note there too, like a sort of like a charred or a honey meat. Limes again, that zesty, that citrusy, that's all led from the purifier and the spirit still. Big citrusy, estery notes that have travelled right the way through 19 years of maturation and almost been amplified by the cask selection. So we'll have a wee taste of number two. Cheers all. Quite earthy, bit of pepper. Quite often I get Ardbeg, there's like a slightly herby note, fennel, a bit of licorice, but it's quite herby almost on the taste bit. Again, that wood ash, wood smoke, but just that wee bit of earth, that sort of dunnage warehouse floor, that real. It is maybe slightly creamier, but there's big limes and pineapple. Just add a wee bit of water to that. Absolutely sensational whiskies. I'm just going to contrast and compare how we know as a whole. Yeah, I think just number two, just slightly softer on the nose. I don't know, you can fire in the comments any thoughts or any favourites. If you prefer the two, please just let us know what you think. Beautiful whiskey though, fantastic. So Tri-Van. So if you haven't had the third or the most recent release that we just put out, or if it's not with you yet, keep an eye out for it. It's very, very good as well. So that was it's been a cracker. Tri-Van number three is Bill's and myself went through them as well and had a nose and a taste, and I hope you like Tri-Van number three when you get the chance to try it. Okay. 2 seconds. I'm just going to have a quick drink of water for that before we move on.
May I ask you, Colin, who did vote or decide for 2021?
21. Well, there was a wee group of us, but it's got, pretty sure it's Bill's name on it. It was Bill that led the decision. But I sat with him and we did go through and we picked a favourite. And yeah, it's really, really good. I don't know if anyone's tasted it here, but yeah, we chat through them, and that's, again, it's really, really good because you get you get a sense of what we liked about it. And I actually think it's my name on the bottle, because in the end of the day, it was me that had the final decision. So we got a number of, I think there were 3 samples that we had. And then I think in the end of the day, it was myself that got put on because I got the final say, which was a true honour, actually, because I was a big fan of the 5 anyway. So, but under Bill's watchful eye, of course, just to make sure that we weren't going too out there with a 19-year-old. Okay.
So you say it is CG on the last one?
I think it might be the full name, Colin Gordon. There you are, on the bottle. What an honour, eh?
We will see when it will be released in Sweden in beginning of
If
October.
they've got Bill Lumsden on it in Sweden, you tell me, because he's snuck in there under the
I will.
Right, okay, so Try Van. Then what a lineup you have tonight. So we'll then move on. We've got a range. There's I was going to do the 21, 22, 23, 25, because you guys also have 2 single casks to taste. And because it only got sent to the Swedish market, there's actually one of the samples I don't have. So that is going to be over to you guys tonight, the tasting notes for me. But I thought we'd maybe go through 21, 22, 23, 25. It's just, how exciting is that for a lineup to roll off the tongue? So we did, let's kick off then. Let's have a wee look at 21. Ardbeg 21 done back. We did the sort of the 20-something series, and Ardbeg 21 was done in 2016, and it is all ex-bourbon casks, all American ex-bourbon, and again, it will be a mix, mainly refills, a bit of first fill in there as well. And this is one of my favourites. Like we did one of the first weeks I was here, I was well versed with Ardbeg. I've always been a huge fan of Ardbeg, and it's always one of the most exciting things about walking in the door. Because the brand is so popular, there's actually less samples here than you think. But we ended up doing a taste in 21, 22, and 23, and then obviously 25 was released at the start of this year. So we did a wee comparison and picked a favourite, and it's a hard old task, but we go again. So let's kick off. The 21 is 46%. So the 20-somethings were slightly reducing strength down to 46, was still a good strength we went for. Again, there is no colour, nothing being added. So this is all just completely from the cask, and when you look at it, very much the influence from the American oak, the ex-bourbon cask. That's lovely golden straw colour. I think there's like a really, really nice, almost like a honey note. It reminds me a wee bit of like mango chutney. Again, that's my, I think I eat too many foods. Maybe I'm just hungry this time of night and delving into food. But I get like a nice sort of mango, a bit of honey. Again, that real balance of smoke. There's the citrus there as well. Maybe like slightly more oily on the nose, I think, but it's just beautiful. Really, really good. It's like a slight bit of that spice, a little bit of cinnamon there. But the smoke is really behind it all. Big cask influence on this. That smoke's there, but we'll have a wee tasting there. So let's try the 21 slant job. Cheers, Scott. Yeah, that's good amount, good like vanilla. I always think the 21's got a really nice, that sort of like that oily, like really nice mouthfeel, and it's long, quite nice and long and just like beautifully warming. But that ash mouth coating, classic Ardbeg, again, is maybe slightly more subtle, slightly more reduced, just with the big sort of citrus, vanilla, honey. Really, really nice. I think 21's a superb whiskey. There's maybe a slightly like, more of a, like a wee bit of a medicinal note as well, which tends not to be hugely pronounced, I don't think, in a lot of Ardbegs, but just slightly just sitting in there. So we've got a wee comment in here. As always, first sip of the whiskey from Ardbeg, it is very good, but to compare, must taste it again if there is some left in the glass. Well, absolutely. It's a Friday night, so make sure you enjoy it. Really pronounced like vanilla note, I think, with water in that. Citrusy as well, that sort of like orange peel. Again, that citrusy note. Fantastic, 46%. Great, brilliant. Okay, 21. I'm just going to mark these so I know which one to go back to. Okay, next one, 2018. Yes, sorry, 23 was 2017. 22 was 2018 bottling. Slightly higher, 46.4. Again, a good strength, brought down slightly, 46.4. Again, all ex-bourbon, all ex-American oak, ex-bourbon casks. I couldn't quite remember because it's been a while since I've nosed them. 22, 23. I get a big menthol hit with 22. I think there's like a minty menthol, like quite pronounced. That's just amazing. That's very much wood influence. That's cask influence, the way that's worked in with the whiskey. The vanilla's there, the citrus is there, but for me, go back even to 21, I think there's quite a pronounced menthol. I just think that's incredible. That sort of eucalyptus note there, like mint fresh, absolutely incredible on the nose. 22. Good taste. The smoke is there, but it's behind like a sweet, intense like fruit again, melon and mango and vanilla. I think the 22 is absolutely outstanding drop of whiskey. That's probably that's up there so far for me. That is absolutely amazing. Such a great mouthfeel to Ardbegs, and I think that's what makes it such a great spirit to play about with. You know, you've got this beautiful balance of the soup and the fruit, the smoke, and this intense fruits, and just like good casks laying down good stock. When we've got it to mature, we can really do some pretty special stuff with it. I don't want to add water to it, but I will anyway. Yeah, it's just I get just I'm completely getting that pronounced menthol. Wee bit I like again that sort of just light sort of smoked meats just on the mouth, but like great sweetness as well. Really cracking, superb whiskey. Sorry to rattle through these, but I just am just aware of the time and stuff, and I want to make sure. But what we'll do is we'll go through them, and if you want to go back to anything of yours or your whiskies, you can drink them as you want. So I know I will after. Okay, so 21 and 22 were very much all about the American oak ex-bourbon casks. The 23 that we'll come on to was done in 2017, so the year before the last one we tried. But it was a mix of ex-bourbon and Oloroso. So we were asked earlier about what we fill on site. We do fill a good number of sherry casks, sherry butts a year in Spanish casks. But I think the way the industry has moved as well, obviously the sherry casks are not all European oak. We've got a huge number of sherry casks that come to us now are American oak as well, just because of the wood. To get European oak is getting harder and harder. So that sort of traditional European oak's tannic and spiciness and figs and grapes and sort of notes you would always get. You can get some pretty interesting stuff coming through when you have a sherry cask that is an American oak, the high vanillin, so sort of vanilla and coconut notes you tend to see from the American oak. So 23 I think is a really, really interesting one because we have the balance of ex-bourbon and ex-Oloroso sherry cask, 46.3 for the 23-year-old, done in 2017. Just like from the colour alone, you can just see there's a fair bit more influence from the sherry cask. We've actually not had much, I don't, you know, looking back at the Tri Vans that we tried just a minute ago, they are a mix of ex-American oak, ex-bourbon and ex-Oloroso, but not a particularly pronounced sherry influence, I wouldn't say. I think this is probably the first one that we've had that can really pick up some of that classic raisins and figs and slightly leathery notes that you get. Sweet pipe tobacco. Again, the orange is there, that citrusy note. That's one of the first we've done tonight where actually smell like a much more of a sherry cask influence. So let's try the 23. Slangerval. Cheers. The 23 for me, the smokes there, that wood ash, but I think it's more peaty. That's one of the first I've tried tonight, but I think that's that sort of earthy peat. But it's beautifully, again, really, really well balanced. Charred meat, you know, like really, really well charred meat and fruits coming through. Beautiful. The 20-something range that was bottled are just brilliant. Superb. Yeah, I just think that's beautiful. There's that such nice balance between the earth and the fruits, the like grapes and figs. Almost a bit doughy. Again, it's the food. I'm losing it here. I'm going on to food again. Okay, 23. Amazing. That just by that balance and less of the ex-bourbon notes. It's that wee bit of Oloroso in there and pushing that mix up, if you like, through maturation. Gives you a total different dimension from the 21 and 22 that we just tried. Really good. So we'll move on to the 25, which we launched at the start of this. What year are we in now? 2021, that's right. We launched it at the start of this year. But a lot of feedback that it was very expensive. It is expensive. Fortunately, I'm a huge whiskey fan and whiskey drinker, but it's the way of the world. The prices have gone up as demand's increased and there's a lot less of it. So I certainly, you've got a sample there, then if it's the first time you've tried it, or if you've had it many times, I think you're like, it's a pretty special drop of stuff. The 25-year-old is 46%. Done, no, wait a minute. It's 46% ex-bourbon, cask, and ex-Oloroso. So like the 20 that we've just had, let's have a nose. I'm just going to drink the water. Clear the palate first. So there is, again, you can just see from the color again, like just comparing that to the 23 that we had, it's slightly lighter, even though it's older, so probably slightly less of the Oloroso influence. Again, for me, the citrus is there. There's vanilla there. There is smoke on the nose, I think. Again, it's not hugely pronounced. Just sort of get it through. It's got a sweet smoke there. I think again there's a mint thing going on there, like peppermint. Let's have a taste. It's like 25. Just fantastic. Like the smokes there, earth, ash, sweetness just coming, hitting the top of the mouth, coming through. Again, orangey note, vanilla. It's superb. The 25 was very successful, and I'm pretty sad to say actually when I poured the dram, we only had one bottle in tasting stock. That's how hard it was to get hold of the 25, and this here is the last of it. So I'll make sure it's savoured. But that's the 25-year-old. It's like a slightly polished note, I think, you know, that's ever so slightly fragrant. Quite often with Ardbeg, you make spirit. When we're running the stills, actually that was one of the big things as we commissioned the new still house here. So right through lockdown, the very first day I came in, it was all about trying to get the new still house commissioned. We doubled up, we've gone from 2 stills to 4. So we've gone from 1 wash still to 2 wash stills and 1 spirit still to 2 spirit stills. So doubled up our distillation capacity. Clearly, like distillation, it makes you, I was saying this earlier, it makes you quite nervous, because the biggest thing that's going to influence the character of the new make spirit is distillation. You play about with mashing and fermentation, so your fermentation hours play a crucial role, but distillation is key, it's crucial. And you've been in the same still house, and we've been in the same still house for over 100 years, and there's big nervousness when you come into a new distillery, because you don't want to be the man in 10 years to say you got it wrong and it's completely different. So we spent a lot of time and did a huge amount of work making sure that it was how we wanted. And one of the, as we started running the stills, 19th of March was the first spirit we ran through that new still house. We came in at 2 o'clock in the morning to see it and take some photos, because it was a pretty historic day. We when the new make spirit comes in, so when your low wines comes in from the first distillation, right at the start you get a huge fruity, you can smell it in the atmosphere, because it's the really estery light notes getting driven off the still and condensed first. You get this like lovely floral note, like quite it's like a little sort of herby and floral note just on that 25 there. I just get as well. So beautiful. There's a question here, how come there is so little smoke on the nose but still so clear in the taste? It's there. So your taste and your smell threshold are different. So smoke is much easier to pick up on taste. You have a much like a lower threshold. So when you taste it, it's there. So when nosing, you have much more influence from maturation over time. You're going to get lots of different notes. It's much harder to pick up on the nose because it sort of falls to the background. And it's just about how your taste, your organoleptics in your nose and mouth, the way you taste and smell, pick up smoke. And that's the great thing with Ardbeg, because you have a nose and you think, oh, and then you taste it and it's there every time. Okay, right, I'm just wary of time. So, 25-year-old, let's talk a wee bit about the two single casks you've got. I was really excited because I haven't tried either of these because we bottled these specially for our Swedish market. You guys are truly honoured. We don't do that for every market, but we know obviously our fans in Sweden are most passionate. And what we did is there were two that we've got here. We've got single cask 4578 and 1322. Now I don't have 4578, even the lab didn't have a sample of it. So I'm going to rely on you guys to go through that, and I'll go through that because I haven't written any notes because I've not tasted it. And I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on that. But I thought we would firstly do 1322 since I've got it. And it is a single cask from 2005, the 1322, and it's a second fill, Oloroso sherry vat. I think it was 2020, this one released here. So it's a 15-year-old. 2020 it was released, yeah. And look at the colour on that. That's from a refill or a second fill. So you can imagine the first fill for that cask had with Ardbeg, how dark that must have been when that's off the set. And again, that's the quality of cask that we're using. So this is a second fill. The first fill may well have gone into Ugadal or anything like that. And then we've refilled this butt back in 2005. And look at the colour on it, a rich mahogany, that classic sherry cask. I hadn't even nosed this till an hour ago and I barely had a nose, so let's have a wee smell. Oh, it's like immediately like oil, linseed oil. Like, crikey, that's quite pronounced. When we fit new washbacks, or anytime we replace a washback for fermentation vessels here, it's always Douglas fir, Oregon pine as they say, but it's Douglas fir or larch. And what they'll do is they'll coat the wood in linseed oil, and that really strong smell. I just get like a burst of that there on the nose. Maybe it's because I've been doing work on the washbacks recently. I've seen my a bit nutty, even a bit treacle there. That classic bit of nutmeg. Again, I think there's that herbal note there, almost like green note, fennel, like slightly leather note as well. Again, classic from the Oloroso cask. Cracking. Right, I've not tasted it yet. Let's have a wee sip. Slanger that all. 1322. Oh, it's like hickory wood bonfire or something. It's quite spices that are there. Generally, it's like, again, raisins, toasted, sort of like a toasted vanilla thing. Reminds me of like hickory wood. That's like plums as well. Quite a sort of plum thing, that demerara sugar, that brown sugar thing I quite often get. But it's chewy as well. Like really good mouthfeel to it, long, lingering, oily, good chew to it, and that's again great influence, the tannins from the Oloroso cask. Superb. Right, before I run out of time and get thrown off, it's over to you guys. I need you to tell me about the single cask 4578. It's a first fill Oloroso, and it will be a 14-year-old. I think this one was released in 2019 on what I saw earlier in the day. I've got official, because I printed somewhere, the official tasting notes, but I don't want to read those. I want you guys to have a taste. Jot anything down. Let's have a tell me what you think, because I've sent it all to Sweden and forgot the distillery, and that's the world we live in there. We can't blame COVID for that. That was terrible. They forgot us. I mean, while you're sipping it and tasting it, I could read you some of the official notes. You can tell me what they think. What have they said? We've got the classic Ardbeg notes, citrus orange notes, violets, a hint of truffle, and smoked bacon. On the taste, they've said toffee and orange zest. That's come up a lot tonight. Definitely get that a lot of Ardbegs. Smoked dried fruits, figs and dates, hot ginger, antiseptic lozenges. The weather's turned here, we'll probably need them in a few weeks. And lingering sooty notes. Does that sound about right? Is that how we find in the single pairs there? Go back to my other one. Okay. What a lineup in an hour. That was incredible. It's so nice to go through. We're blessed. It's an industry where we're blessed with great whiskey, and to go through that range of Ardbeg for you guys is fantastic. I've only been having little sips as I go, but these will all be going home with me tonight to finish. But yeah, that's pretty much me done. I'm happy enough for that. Are we all good? Have you enjoyed the whiskies? Yeah?
It was fantastic lineup. I feel the best tasting this year. I'm quite convinced for the Whiskey Club. But the question, yeah, I think so. Difficult to beat. But a question to last whiskey. Have you got any information which type of sherry cask? For me, it doesn't taste like an Oloroso cask, and it is also lighter than in my room at least than glass number 9, which was a second fill Oloroso. First I thought, could it be a Fino cask, while it was, I can't describe it in English, the first taste I got.
Well, we do fill a mix, so we do fill some Fino on Pinots, we fill some PX, yeah, so, but I had to hunt down some notes because I had never seen it or never tried the 4, 5, 7, 8, and all I could find is first fill Oloroso Hog's Head.
Yeah, so, but glass number 9 is a real sherry butt, so that's probably contained sherry for a long time. The sherry Hog sells as the glass number 10. That was probably filled with sherry for a couple of months, and then they poured whiskey in it. So I mean,
conditioned cask, as we call them, yeah.
And the first one is a typical Oloroso butt.
Yeah.
I'm curious if it could be Manzanilla in
Manzanilla as well.
Yeah, in number 10.
Yeah.
Do you know if you have any casks with that have stored Manzanilla sherry
on site? Yeah, we've got Manzanilla casks. Yeah, warehouse 3. We've got quite a number of butts in there just now. Manzanilla, yeah. We've got a lot of different casks. Because people always want to try Ardbeg in a different way, and we have to have to mix it up. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to leave you guys, if that's okay, and thank you very much indeed, tack så mycket and all that. And I look forward to hopefully getting over to Sweden, hopefully catch up with you all sometime. It'd be nice to see you and get out there. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Colin. Hopefully we can visit Ireland next year.
Definitely, there's Anders was saying, I know there'll be a number of you wanting to get out, and it's great to see people moving again. We're looking forward to having you back.
Thanks, Colin. Interesting evening.
Yeah.
Very good evening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I keep in touch with you, Colin, later on. Then you know what the best whiskey for tonight will be, and so on.
Okay, thanks, Anders. No, it's been great. Nice to meet you properly, and take care of yourselves, guys. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.